Welcome everyone, Ralyc here bringing you my first ever top 10 list. For as long as I can remember, I have always loved the Godzilla franchise. With over 30 movies under his belt, yes, the American movies do count, Godzilla has certainly seen his fair share of ups and downs. And with the new King of Monsters film about to debut in theaters later this week, I decided it was high time to do a video running down my picks for the top 10 Godzilla movies of all time. Now, keep in mind that these are my personal favorites. I'm sure your favorite Godzilla movies will differ quite a bit from mine. So without further ado, let's get started with number 10. Godzilla 2000 was released in Japan in 1999, oddly enough, just a year after the first attempt at American Godzilla film. Godzilla 2000 was the first Japanese-made Godzilla film that I managed to see in theaters. It had a limited release. This movie featured a new monster called Orga, starting out as a flying saucer and eventually transforming into a Godzilla-sized monster. This film was a welcome return to form after the 1998 TriStar movie, and one that was desperately needed to wash away the bad taste Zilla left in many fans' mouths.
That's a lot of fish.
The human side of things is your standard fare. A human villain seeking to kill Godzilla and a scientist and reporter trying to study him. But like most Godzilla movies, no one really cares about the human side of the story. They just want to see the action, and Godzilla 2000 gives us a great monster battle. But for now, let's move on to the next movie in this list. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Godzilla movies had a very campy tone, and this film was no exception. But out of all of the sillier Godzilla movies, Godzilla vs. Megalon certainly had the most charm. This is one of the many that I honestly can't remember the first time I watched it, but I've always loved it. The story followed an underground civilization called Seatopia, who, after having their country damaged by nuclear tests, decided to unleash Megalon upon humanity. While the monster fight itself is great in this movie, the real standout aspect of this film is the new character Jet Jaguar. Great action, cool monsters, plenty of memorable moments, Godzilla vs. Megalon truly stands out as one of the all-time classics of the series. Mechagodzilla has always been one of my favorite Godzilla monsters, so when I found out that they were doing a new version for the Millennium series, I was really psyched. However, I was really disappointed with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but then came the direct sequel, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, which far exceeded the first part in every way. This movie not only saw the return of Mechagodzilla, but Mothra as well in both adult and larval forms. All the effects and action sequences are top-notch this time around. After a tense battle against adult Mothra, Mechagodzilla is deployed to assist in the battle. And later, two larva Mothras hatch from an egg and battle Godzilla as well. While I've never really been a big fan of Mothra, I really enjoyed seeing her in this movie. Tokyo SOS is definitely a great Godzilla movie all around. However, it also came out at a time when Godzilla's popularity was starting to slip a little in Japan. So Toho decided it was time to give the big guy a bit of a break. But first it had to give him a proper send-off. Which brings us to the next entry in this list. Back in 2004, Toho decided it was time for Godzilla to take a bit of a hiatus, and so Godzilla Final Wars was made as a send-off for the King of the Monsters. It also served as the 50th anniversary celebration for the Godzilla franchise. Released in 2004, Final Wars was meant to send Godzilla out with a bang, and boy did it ever. Featuring over 10 different kaiju, Final Wars is nothing short of a roller coaster ride. With lots of great monster battles and surprisingly good human battles as well, from seeing Godzilla literally smack down the inferior American Godzilla to the climactic battle with King Ghidorah. Final Wars is a thoroughly entertaining ride from beginning to end. Toho set out to make a great send-off for the Big G and succeeded in every way. While it will be another 10 years before Godzilla will return, Final Wars proved his spirit was very much alive and well in the hearts of fans everywhere. During the 90s, I was unaware that Toho was continuing to make Godzilla movies. For many years, I thought they were done making them. Until I was at a comic book convention and found a vendor selling imported VHS tapes of newer Godzilla films, so of course I had to buy one. As a result, I was introduced to my first of the 90s Godzilla movies, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. I will never forget how awesome it was seeing a new Godzilla movie for the first time in many years, and I thought the character SpaceGodzilla was awesome. While the human side of the story this time around is kind of interesting, with one man trying to take revenge against Godzilla for killing someone he knew in a previous film, and scientists performing experiments to try and control Godzilla. With a great new monster design in SpaceGodzilla, amazing battles, and lots of great effects and spectacle, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla was a great introduction for me to the PC era of Godzilla films. Now, I know for many people, the original can only be considered the best. Not for me, however. The very first Godzilla movie, released in 1954, is what started it all, but I personally grew up with the American re-edit Godzilla King of the Monsters. I know a lot of people will complain about how the original film's message and symbolism was lost in the re-edit. However, I don't judge the value of a movie by its message, but more how much it entertains me personally. King of the Monsters is still a truly great film regardless of which version you watch, and was a key component in solidifying Godzilla's status as a legendary monster and character. Oh, and speaking of legendary... I cannot begin to tell you how excited I was for this movie. Being a lifelong Godzilla fan and after having a 10-year hiatus, I was beyond stoked when Godzilla hit theaters in 2014. Now granted, there was some skepticism going into another American interpretation after the 1998 version, but all the trailers and promotional material still filled me with hope, and I was not disappointed. This time around, America got it right with Godzilla. From the look of the big guy to actually having his signature atomic breath and giving him a cool new monster to fight, this movie finally gave fans an authentic Godzilla movie experience made with Hollywood production value. And plus, it gave us an epic finishing move from the Big G. Godzilla wins. Fatality! Whew. King Kong vs. Godzilla. How can I really put this one into words? The only real crossover battle Godzilla has had in a movie to date, this was the movie that really solidified Godzilla as a fighting monster. It featured Godzilla and King Kong fighting briefly in the middle of the movie, and then colliding once again at the climax for the real battle. And when these two do finally go at it, it is truly an epic battle. And unlike most crossover battles, this one actually came down to a definitive winner. And soon we will have the long-awaited rematch when Legendary releases Godzilla vs. Kong next year. As I said before, Mechagodzilla is one of my favorite creatures in the Godzilla universe, and this movie was where he made his debut. When an alien race attacks Earth with a mechanical monster made in the image of Godzilla, the real Godzilla must take it down with the help of a new monster called King Caesar, which seems to be a type of lion kaiju. The human side of the story is actually pretty good this time around too, having a scientists and law enforcement having to deal with the aliens controlling Mechagodzilla. The final battle is nothing short of spectacular, with Mechagodzilla unleashing its full arsenal on both Godzilla and King Caesar until they finally manage to overpower him, leading to another epic way to finish off the enemy monster. Ah, that never gets old. Whenever anyone tries to think of their top 10 anything, it can be hard to narrow the list down to the best of the best. However, the absolute top spot is usually never in question. Right from the get-go, you know what stands out as the absolute best of all time. So without further ado, I give you my personal pick for the greatest Godzilla movie of all time. I'm sorry, folks, I just couldn't resist. In all seriousness, here's my real number one pick. As long as I can remember, this has been my favorite Godzilla movie. It was also what I thought for the longest time was the final Godzilla movie ever made. Coming out 9 years after the previous Godzilla movie, Terror Mechagodzilla, Godzilla 1985 was a turning point for the King of the Monsters. It not only made Godzilla a villain again, but managed to make him downright terrifying. Set 30 years after the original Godzilla movie, this film ignores all previous Godzilla movies except for the first one, having to react to the re-emergence of Godzilla, attempting to combat him with a new weapon called the Super X, which looks kind of like a Polaroid camera to me, and also forming a plan to attempt to lure him into a volcano. Just like the original American release of Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla 1985 featured a big re-edit with Raymond Burr, which is the version I grew up with as well. From the upgraded design of Godzilla to his scary new roar, they did an excellent job of making Godzilla seem evil and scary again, yet still nearly brought me to tears when he was finally defeated, dropping him into a volcano. With the sad music, Raymond Burr's voiceover, and the painful, blood-curdling scream Godzilla let out just before he faded out of sight. God, that's still hard to listen to. To this day, most Godzilla movies, when I rewatch them, I'll just skip to the monster scenes. But with this one, I always love watching it from beginning to end. And that's why it has always been, to me anyway, the best Godzilla movie ever made. So So there you have it. My pick for the top 10 Godzilla movies of all time. I hope you all really enjoyed watching this video. It's been a long time just in my mind, and I really enjoyed making it. Are y'all planning on going to see Godzilla King of Monsters this weekend? I for one cannot wait to see it. I already got my tickets to go see it in 4D, and Sunday cannot come soon enough. What were your favorite Godzilla movies? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know if you'd like to see more top 10s like this one. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and thank y'all for watching. Have a good day.